Assalamu alaikum. The question is, do we have a free will in this life, or are we guided and forced into certain behaviors? How does this make sense if we say that Allah knows everything in advance? How do we account for all the variations in people's conditions and circumstances? The Quran answers in a mixed way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that we do have free will and we're going to be held accountable for our actions and behaviors, and yet there are certain things that we don't have a choice about. So for example, there are many things we don't have a choice about. We don't have a choice in terms of where we are born, to whom we are born, or when we are born. We don't have a choice regarding our physical features. We are given what we're given. We don't have a choice regarding the circumstances in which we are born. Are we born in a war situation? Are we born in an uneducated society? The reality is there are many givens over which we don't have control and we don't have a choice. But we have a choice over many, many things. Among them is how we behave, the decisions that we make, knowing right or wrong. One of the things over which we have a choice is taking care of our health and therefore extending our lifespan and delaying the time of our death. We do have a choice about that. We do have a choice about working hard, following the rules of society, earning money and becoming wealthy. There's nothing wrong with that if we follow the rules, and we have a choice of becoming wealthy. That is not predetermined. We have a choice over educating ourselves, improving our situation, and improving the way we think, becoming smarter in the process. That is something we have a choice about. We also have a choice about helping others and making the situation better for those around us or those over whom we have any control. But most importantly, as we have mentioned in other segments, we don't have a choice about one very important fact. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided us human beings, human creatures, the choice of how we form ourselves in preparation for the next life. That choice, we don't have a choice about. We are forced into that choice. In other words, we are entrusted with the ability to create our future life based on what we do in this life. Again, if you want more about this aspect, refer to prior segments. So the question then becomes, how does Allah account for the various differences between people? You could be born into an educated family compared to someone who is born into an ignorant family or uneducated family or a society that does not have a lot of educated people. Of course, that's going to affect you. How does Allah account for a person who is born into a wealthy environment, who is born into a different physical condition? You know, some people are born taller and therefore they are more qualified to become successful runners. How does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala account for people who are given more biological material for intelligence or for beauty or for those things? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran tells us that He accounts for all of these variables, and then He sees what you do in this life, and based on what you do, given in consideration all the circumstances that you're given, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala computes your results based on all of these variables. So does luck play a role into this? And the answer is, of course, luck plays a role into this. But luck to us is a predetermination for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is setting a stage in which you are expected to behave and you're expected to conduct your values and your norms that He enjoined upon you. If you carry out the best that you can, given the circumstances that you're given, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will consider all of this together. So for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah, He tells us, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not hold a person accountable for any more than he could handle. In other words, He does not hold that person accountable more than his abilities within his circumstances. He continues, to each person what he deserves given his circumstances, and against each person what he purposefully committed in terms of mistakes, also given his circumstances. So in summary, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided us certain circumstances, and they're all different from person to person, but He also provided a lot of us gifts, and He provided special talents, and He also provided us opportunities that may vary from person to person. All of these things combined provide us the environment in which we act in this life. And given all of this, and given how we behave, we prepare ourselves for the next life. So in answer to the question, how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala know everything, including everything that will happen in the future, if we are given the choice? In other words, doesn't that show that everything is predetermined? And the answer is absolutely not. Let me give you a very simple example. Imagine a person sitting atop a building, atop a high building. Looking down, that person from the roof sees the street below. In the street below, there are two cars. In the two cars, the drivers are preoccupied. They're either not paying attention, or they're playing on their cell phone, or texting, or whatever. And as it so happens, these two cars are heading toward each other. Neither of the driver knows that, but yet they have a choice as to what to do. The person on the top sees that these two cars are about to crash. So the person on the top of the building knows that these two cars are going to crash, even though neither of the two drivers know that, unless they pay attention and change their behavior. This is the difference between knowing the future versus predictating the future. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the rules of all the events in the future, and He can know all of the results that could happen, and He can know what could possibly happen if you do not choose to change your behavior. So Allah knows all the possibilities, but you make one of those possibilities happen when you choose, when you make your decisions. I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides me and you to always make the right decisions and to be successful in this life and in the hereafter. Thank you for watching.